Hello, this is Magical Master, and this is a demonstration of the UpdateHP system, which I am releasing on the Vault. This is a demonstration module that I built specifically for this purpose. It is also included in the Vault download should you wish to try this yourself and verify that things are actually working as I claim. I'm going to try to keep this demonstration relatively short and to the point, and not go into too much detail about how the system actually works, just highlighting what it does and a rough sketch of how it works. So the first thing you should know is that I'm going to be using this wand here, which is scripted to do a certain amount of damage. In this case, it's going to be doing 100 damage every second to this mob in front of me. You may notice that if I put my cursor over the mob, it has a 100% near the end of its name. This is the first half of the UpdateHP system, which will show percentages of enemy HP. Now, because of a debug string, which will be running in this video to give you more insight into what's going on if you want to figure out the nitty-gritty stuff, you won't be able to actually see it over the monster's head here, really, but you will be able to see it in the chat log on the lower left, where you'll see the following: 93, 86, 80, 73, 66, 60, and so forth. And on the right-hand side, you can see that it's taking damage every second. And once it gets down to 0 health, it will die right about now. So that was 1,500 hit points. Let's say we want to go up to 10,000 hit points. We can still handle that, but I'm going to go ahead and set the damage to 1,000 every second to speed this up a bit. So we see 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, and it's dead. You may have noticed it didn't quite die exactly at 0, and I'll explain that in a moment. It has to do with an immortality part of this. Now, there is a catch here. Using the default toolset, you can only set the HP to about 13,000. Now, let's say you wanted higher hit points. Well, that's the second part of the UpdateHP system, and in fact it's called MassiveHP, massive hit points. This will allow you to go above and beyond what the toolset normally allows by default. In fact, it will accommodate up to about 2 billion hit points should you want that, though that would not be a very good idea, as we will get into in a moment. But let's take a look at this. This is a monster who has 20,000 hit points. By default, the toolset can only do about 13,000, so this is a gain of about 7,000 over what the toolset can normally provide. You'll notice that it is losing 5% of its health every second, which is 1,000 damage a second, which means it'll take 20 seconds to die, which means it therefore has 20,000 hit points. Now, that's just the beginning of what we can do with this if we want to upgrade. Let's go ahead and increase the damage here to make sure this doesn't take too long, and it's now going to do 2,000 damage every half second, or 4,000 a second. And we have a monster here which has 200,000 hit points. And as we see here, it's losing 1% of its health every half second, and it will die therefore in 50 seconds. So these are the two main parts of the system: the health percentage and the massive HP. The way these generally work is that every half second by default, and you can shorten this or make it go check faster or check slower, depending upon your situation, it'll check whether the monster has either gained or lost hit points. It'll basically say, is the current hit points identical to the last call of this? If it is, it'll assume nothing's changed and just wait however long again you've set it to call itself. But if it has changed, then it'll attempt to update the percentage, and if the monster's set up to have bonus hit points under the massive HP system, then it'll update that as well. So there is the 200,000 hit points that got chewed through there. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that technically speaking you could accommodate 2 billion hit points, which is what this monster has. But there's a slight catch. Doing 2,000 damage every half second for 4,000 damage a second, that will still take over 5 days for this golem to die. Now, admittedly, I have only actually tested this and left it running for 20 minutes just to see how it made sure nothing got screwed up, and that took it down to about 99.7%. If you happen to want to leave it running for 5 days and tell me if you encounter a problem, you can do that, but you'd be kind of crazy in my opinion, no offense. So while we're sitting here and while it's steadily losing its hit points, and those are really big numbers, let's go over a few other things you should know about the system if you're wanting to use it. First of all, to use the health percentage part, it's very simple. You literally just call this script on the creature. I would recommend you do it on the OnSpawn. If you really want to do it someplace else, you can. You would literally be like execute script, update HP on the monster. Everything else after that is handled by the script. It'll automatically append the % sign onto the creature, and it will update it whenever the creature loses or gains hit points. This will work perfectly fine without the MassiveHP system. That's handled slightly separately. You do not need to do anything else. And in fact, if you don't do anything else, the MassiveHP will not come into play. MassiveHP only comes into play if you set local variables on the creature. And what this is that you would set a variable called HP bonus to indicate how much bonus hit points the creature should have. The system assumes the creature has 10,000 hit points, since that's sort of the base default in the tool set. Any creature, regardless of the constitution or feats, can be set to 10,000 hit points. So you should use that if you want to use MassiveHP. So if you want a creature with 30,000 HP, you would set the HP bonus to be 20,000, because that's the extra HP you want, and you'd set another one called HP max to 30,000, which is the maximum hit points. And after that, it'll run everything else. What it is doing behind the scenes is healing the monsters in an effort to make it appear that they actually have that many hit points. And they're doing it in a specific manner. 25% of the healing will be done when the monster is between 75 and 100%. 25 will be done when it's between 50 and 75. 25% will be done between 25 and 50, and 25% will be done between 0 and 25. From the perspective of the player, it should look exactly the same as if the monster actually legitimately had 30,000 hit points. That is the goal of the system. As a player, you will not be able to tell the difference. But again, that's all you have to do. You just need to set up those two variables if you want them. You can, if you don't want a creature to have massive HP, you can ignore it. Obviously, you can just comment out the ShowHP if you don't want that. Either system works. Use it as your discretion. A few other quick things. Number one, you may have noticed that the creatures earlier stopped at 1 hit points for a second. This was set because they are set immortal. The reason they were set immortal is that if you use massive HP, you run into a potential problem. Is that burst HP near the end of the creature's life can kill it early. For example, let's say you have a person who's like a weapon master's great smiter who can do like 2,000 damage a hit on a crit or something. If you had several of them attacking the monster, it's possible that they might accidentally do more than 2,500 HP in a half a second, which is how often it checks by default, in which case the monster would die early if they got like 2 lucky crits in a row or something. By setting it to immortal, you prevent this from happening. It'll just stop at 1 hit point and then get healed back up to the 2,500 and record that as like being 2,500 HP lower. Now the script will automatically remove the immortality once all of the bonus hit points are gone and the creature is less than 50 hit points. You can also avoid this removal by setting a local int called perma-immortal on the creature. This will always keep it immortal if it is immortal. It will avoid stripping it. The immortality will have to be set up by you as the builder, because you don't technically need it on everything. You'll only need it if you're using massive HP, and it may be that in your world you don't want to have it regardless for some reason. So, your discretion. More detail in the documentation. Healing. As long as you are not using massive, healing works perfectly fine with the ShowHP with the %. You don't have to do anything there. It'll automatically update. If you want to use healing with the massive HP, it's trickier because you'll need to script in the change to the HP bonus local int. In other words, let's say you have a creature who is set to be 30,000 HP and he's down to effective half health, which is 15,000 HP. This probably means he happens to have about 5,000 actual HP, and then 10,000 bonus HP for 15,000 total. Let's say you then cast the default heal on him and he's back to full health. Well, that value, bonus HP, has not changed. So according to the bonus HP, he still has 10,000 bonus HP and 10,000 raw HP. So he's at 20,000, not 30,000. You'd need to update that bonus HP back up to the original value. Exactly how you need to update it will depend upon exactly how your healing system works, but just something to be aware of. Also, the system is designed so that it will constantly run until the object that it is on is destroyed. It does not stop at death. The reason for this is because some worlds may have like a phoenix or something. You kill it, and it comes back to life a few seconds later, and I didn't want to potentially screw that up. It is worth noting here, as I think I mentioned earlier, the system will barely do anything as long as HP value is the same. So if you're dead and at -5 hit points or 0 hit points or whatever, it'll say last time I checked they were at 0 hit points. This time it's still at 0 hit points, so nothing changed. Don't need to do anything, just check again in half a second. Or 1 second or 2 seconds, or however you want to decide that. The frequency is mainly due to how often you want the percent to update and how much burst damage you are potentially worried about. I think that's mainly the stuff that needs to be covered in this video. You can show percentages, and you can skip to a ton of hit points, and you can combine the two systems. That's what the UpdateHP system does. I would appreciate it if you did not change anything in a major way about it without asking me. If there's some major improvement, I'd prefer to be able to incorporate that into the base script so everyone can take advantage of it. That's why I'm releasing this in the first place, to try to help people and give them something cool to work with. That said, I don't care if you change the delay command on how often the script runs, half a second by default. There's also a special function called special, if you need to handle anything particular to custom to your world or campaign or whatever, that you can do whatever. This debug script is currently in that. It'll be commented out on the vault, but you can, as I said, use that if you'd like. A final thing about names. So on the ShowHP, by default, whenever the script runs, it'll take us basically look at the current name and append the 100% onto it, and then it'll update the far right 6 characters after that, which means that if you rename the creature while the script is running, you need to be careful, and you need to make sure you put on 6 characters of padding onto the far right. So if you have a creature called Bob, if you want to rename this 2 billion HP mob to call Bob instead, you could call it something like Bob 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or all spaces, and those far 6 right on the right will get overwritten, and things will continue as normal. Just something to be aware of there. I think that's pretty much it for now. Hopefully you find this interesting. Health percentages, lots of hit points. Enjoy.